we consider normal stuff. A lot of people have never been taught.
Have no clue. Have no clue. I had a student last week that actually came to the class that was certified last year by another K instructor. And the K instructor that certified him signed off that the person knew everything that they were doing. And this year they came into the renewal, and the second they touched the firearm, I had to stop them, right? I had to stop them because the person wasn't handling.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of What's Next podcast with Lou Maroto. First and foremost, I want to say thank you to my number one sponsor, Simpatico Real Estate. If anyone is looking for any type of real estate, residential, commercial, please give Simpatico a call. They're all over Southeast Florida and in other states. Again, thank you for taking the time to jump on YouTube and watch the channel. Remember, What's Next is a platform for other people to tell stories, whether they're impactful or just stories of life that can probably change another person's life. Another person might be dealing with the same issues that you have experienced, we have experienced in life. So What's Next is the platform that allows guests to come on our show, my show, tell their stories, and maybe you might be going through the same thing, or you might be able to pick up some ideas and give you some direction in life, okay? There's no fluff in What's Next. It's real. We've been there, we've done it. None of my guests, there's no fluff. Okay, I don't know how else to say it.
Sounds clear to me.
So with that said, I'd like to introduce another special guest, a good friend of mine, and I will explain to you guys how we met several years ago, and I think ever since then, we've had a great friendship.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Work relationship. We see each other at the range and all that stuff. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce to everybody my friend JP. From JP Services of Today.
What's going on? What's going on? What's going on? Thank you for having me on today. I finally made it, y'all. I finally made it to What's Next.
And I messed up. I messed up really bad because we were supposed to have done this yesterday. And you know me, those of you that know me, I did not put it in my calendar correctly. And when I received the phone call, I was in the middle of a little healthy walk, and as soon as he called, I knew I had messed up, and I'm fixing it today. So
no better time but the present. Of course, all things happen. Things happen, and yesterday we just got another opportunity to reset it, and make it happen today. So we are definitely here, and we'll make it happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. So JP, I'll tell you real quick. Several years ago, JP was working. It was the Honda Classic, right? And me being the person that I am, you guys know that I own a firearms training company. I have my security company. So I'm always trying to network with people. I'm always willing to meet people and talk about how they got into the business, what kind of training they have, and maybe opportunities to collab.
Yep.
So several years ago, JP and his employees were working the Honda Classic, and of course I asked to see who the boss man was, and I ended up meeting JP, and we exchanged cards. Yes, it took a little bit because I remember I would see you at the range, and you were like, "Yo, what's up?" Like you told me you were gonna call me. What? Like you playing with me or something?
Man, I tell you, man, that's that little kid on the block syndrome right there. So
and it was crazy because it's not because I didn't want to call him. It's just I was just busy, between my full-time job and then doing my basic farm safety course on weekends. And that's where I would see JP at the range, one of the local range. Matter of fact, I'll give a shout out to Alex from Guns Range and Training.
Absolutely.
If you're looking for any type of firearms, knowledge, You know, if you have questions about your gun, any other type of guns and calibers and everything,
Alex definitely got you.
you know, Alex is a great dude. Please go see him. I think it's 1016
Claire Avenue.
Yep. In West Palm
West
Beach.
Palm Beach.
Go see them. Again, great guys, very knowledgeable, and most of all, you have some type of relationship when you're doing that exchange.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Because I've been to ranges. I know you've been to gun stores, where it's just show me the money.
No, there's several of them, and of course, you all know when an average person thinks about business, you know, they think it's all about just dollar bill. Of course, we all got bills to pay, so on and so forth. But when we're in business to make sure that we're taking care of our customers, taking care of what we claim to be our family. So I personally look at each individual person that comes through my office as a family member. So I definitely want to make sure that they feel that they're in my presence and they're actually being taken care of while they're there.
100%. You know, and it was such a turnoff when I first bought my Glock 23. It's like a Gen 1. And I went down south. I won't even say the gun store, but it was just show me the money, and like there was no can I see that gun? There was none of that. It was next. But
it's funny you say that. As my first purchase was a Taurus PT 709 Slim model. I just turned 21 and I finally felt the need to actually have a firearm after completing my course for my concealed weapons class months past. And going into the store that I went in at least 20 times and asked them to see the same exact firearm over and over again. And when I finally decided that I wanted the firearm and I asked the person to go ahead and show me that same firearm again, they told me to get out.
Oh my God.
Oh my goodness. And then when they told me to get out, the sad thing is that I left that day and went to another store and purchased the firearm. After all that work that you've done, put out, you know, I went somewhere else. So, you know, you just got to make sure when you're handling business, you're taking care of that person that's there visiting you and making sure that they're very comfortable while they're there. Because maybe they're not ready to purchase today, but when they are ready to purchase, it's a lifetime purchase. And that's something like Alex. Alex has me for lifetime. Every time I go there, I know that I'm going to be taken care of, and that's why I'm always there.
And you're going to have repetitive sales.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, if I buy a gun from you and you're treating me good, you know, with respect, and you know, you're being a good business
for sure.
person, I'm going to come back and buy more and more and more.
Again. For the smallest of things, you're going to come back.
Yeah, you know, simple training rounds.
Yep.
Whatever.
Yep.
But so let's get into it.
Okay.
Tell me. We want to know who JP is, right? You know, please leave some comments if you see the video. If you like the video, like it. You know, we all hear it. Hit the subscribe button. You know, it's nothing like supporting other people. I like to say I don't like to compete against people. I like to compete with them. Okay. So if you see the show, I hope you do, and you like the content, please hit the like button, the subscribe button.
Absolutely.
All right?
It costs absolutely nothing to actually
Nada.
like and share. So just by all means, go ahead and like and share what you're watching, what you're reviewing. We absolutely need the support. So by all means,
Absolutely.
like and share so that we can continue to grow. Absolutely.
Support and some sponsors. And if anybody is, like I said, Simpatico Real Estate has been phenomenal. I don't know what other word to describe my friend Tommy, but this dude has blessed me with pretty much everything you see here and the location. So I can't give enough thanks for someone to give me that opportunity to do what I, you know, a dream that I had, something that I wanted to fulfill was I wanted to start a podcast and be able to have guests like you talk about things in your life and what you do.
The thing that's great is just in the name, Simpatico. All right, if you understand it and you know exactly what it is, all right, he's very sympathetic. He's there to help. So I'm going to give that shout out and say I appreciate you, Tommy.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
Tommy. All right, JP. So tell me a little bit about yourself. Where were you born? Where do you live?
So JP is a true Floridian. I am a Palm Beach County original. I was born right here in West Palm Beach, Florida. I am an 80s baby, so we are here. I've been here for my entire life. Of course, I've traveled down to Dade for a little while, so on and so forth. But I am a true Palm Beach original. I am here to make sure. My biggest thing is, of course, where I came from. I grew up surrounded by firearms and surrounded by drugs, so on and so forth, and not in the good sense where you have maybe a family member that's law enforcement or something as such. I was surrounded by the other side. Okay, with me being surrounded by the other side, it really made me want to get away from it. Right, I really had a strong urge to just get away from firearms. Didn't want to be around it. I just didn't care for it at all. So as I grew up and got more and more involved in seeing different people, different things happening, it made me turn around and think, you know what we lack in our area? Firearms training.
Yep.
Everybody has a firearm. Nobody knows how to use it.
And I know you work at the range. So I can only imagine when we've seen the videos on YouTube and other social media where you see someone and they remove their gun from their holster that may be concealed or whatever, and without properly clearing it.
No communication at all.
I can only imagine being the tech or the sales rep. Like, please don't point that at me. Please don't point it at me.
And the thing that's sad is when you're making that statement and saying, hey, listen, don't draw your firearm, the person always tells you, no, I know what I'm doing. Don't worry about it. I'm good. No. There's rules that we have to follow at all times, no matter what the situation is. Safety is going to be the number one priority of all things, no matter what. And of course, one of those rules simply says never point the firearm in a direction that you don't intend to destroy. Right? So
100%.
if you're not going to destroy something, when you're drawing that firearm, if I'm not communicated with, I see it as a potential threat. So you want to make sure that if you're needing to draw the firearm, for one, you're at a gun store. We most likely have the same exact firearm behind the shelf, and we could talk to you with a clean, fresh firearm and discuss what exactly you have going on. So by all means, just communicate what's going on long before you do anything.
100%. So you're from Florida, right? Grew up in West Palm.
West Palm.
Tell me, what was next for you after high school? Let's start from high school.
So it's crazy.
I'm sorry. Let me ask you a question. What's your nationality?
So I am a Haitian American. I am a Haitian American. So right here, Sakpase, Zoe's in the house. All right. I was definitely born by my mother and father that's from Haiti. So we really want to make sure we give a shout out to all our Zoes out there. I grew up, like I said, in a neighborhood where all I seen was firearms. I actually wanted to go into the law enforcement field. So I actually grew up in the neighborhood and met a couple deputies back in my day that really just made sure they came and visited us, came and make sure that we got out of the house on the weekends. They would knock on the door at 8 a.m. to make sure that our parents would get us out of our beds to come outside and get fresh air and not just be stuck in the house, right? So it really made me have a deep passion for law enforcement officers, right? So high respects, so on and so forth. The sad thing is that as the years progressed, law enforcement in a lot of senses have become robotic, right? So get a call, respond to the call, leave that call, go to the next, right? So the community outreach that I experienced growing up seems to have just trickled down. Now, granted, 2023, I'm starting to see a lot of it come back, and I'm praising all of the sheriff's departments, all of the local municipalities. I thank you very much to all you chiefs that are allowing this to actually happen. But it really churned me as a personal child that grew up under law enforcement, bringing us out. It turned me off, right? Yep. So instead of going into law enforcement that I felt that I wouldn't be able to give that community outreach to, I decided, you know what? Maybe I'll go to the private sector, and that's where I'm at now.
Okay. So being in the private sector, you have JP has his own business, if I didn't say it already, okay? And remember, it's JP Services of today. So JP, tell me the type of training that you do and some of the certifications that you have.
So JP Service of today is a full training facility. So we trained both unarmed and armed security officers. We also are training for basic pistol classes, just as you are. We have the concealed weapons instructor licenses, of course, that we need to be able to teach those classes. We handle CPR and all of your, believe it or not, as of last week, we actually became phaser certified. So we are phaser certified instructors. So we're actually able to teach the phaser portion of the electronic process. So we're just here to train. Our goal is to make sure that everybody that needs that training or is in search of that training receives what they need. You asked for credentials. I am a certified NRA law enforcement pistol and shotgun instructor. I, of course, am a basic pistol instructor for the concealed weapons permit through the NRA. I am a FDLE, wrong verbiage, my apologies, FDACS. So Florida Department of Agriculture, I'm a D licensee, a G licensee. I am a PI. I am also a process server along with a unarmed security instructor and a armed security instructor. So a couple cards under my belt.
Yes, I was saying, and I always like to ask that question, not only really whenever I speak to someone, I think that's important.
Oh, absolutely.
Because there's people that are out there that do not have those qualifications and are trying to train someone who doesn't know how to use a firearm. So, negative is not a positive.
There's always an Uncle Joe and an Auntie Sally that know how to do everything. Okay, so definitely, it's absolutely important that you know what credentials an individual has. And now, unfortunately, people are scamming heavily. So when you talk about having and knowing what the person's credentials are, to go take a class with someone actually takes a full security class example, and then when they get to the department, they learn that they've committed fraud.
Yes. I saw an article about that.
Absolutely.
What did that happen? Was that here in Palm Beach?
A couple times here in Palm Beach.
I saw it where people had taken several classes. I'm sorry, it wasn't in the firearms field. It was in the nursing field.
Oh, that was heavily down south. Yep, the nursing field. So that was broadcasted. Why? When we're looking at medical staff is everywhere.
Yes.
Right? You get trained in West Palm and you leave from West Palm and you go to be a nurse in Miami.
And especially during COVID.
Oh, my gosh.
That's 2021 is when you saw it.
Absolutely. So all of these people are certifying and they're getting their classes through unmarked places and they're not certified as they thought. And they turn around and now they get investigated and here we go. You lost all that money, all the training that you thought you got, and you're starting over from scratch.
I couldn't even imagine that happening to me. Imagine you save up thousands of dollars to try to get a medical certification, to become a nurse or a nurse practitioner, anything like that.
Yep.
Or even firearms, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you find out that this person, you didn't take the time to vet.
You didn't vet the person, so now you have a bogus certificate. You're out here doing bogus work. Oh, man.
So you got to start all over again.
Yep.
And unfortunately, yes, that does happen,
Absolutely.
guys. So vet your instructors. I'll tell you right now, I don't know everything, and every day I still learn. I'm still learning. I think the day that you think that you know everything is the day that you need to hang it up and just quit.
It's so funny.
That's it.
I personally tell everyone, the moment you stop learning, better be the day that you're in a casket. Because if you're no longer learning, you serve no other purpose, right? We are learning every single day of our lives. I don't care how long I've been teaching in a class, there's always something new. I don't know how many certificates the average person has, but if I had 100, I guarantee you there's another 100 out there that I could get.
Absolutely.
Right? So you're always able to learn.
100%. So where's your office located?
I am right off of Haverhill and Roebuck here in West Palm Beach, Florida. So we are right on the corner of Haverhill and Roebuck. Our address is 3951 North Haverhill Road. We are on the second floor in Suite 209. Everybody that comes to the plaza says the same thing. There is no second floor. I promise you. My office is on the second floor. We are right over the Dollar General. It really looks like there's no second floor, but if you look to the left of the Dollar General, you'll definitely be able to get to our office.
Okay. There you go. What's your guys' phone number?
The phone number for the office is going to be 561-355-0404. And if you really want to get in contact with me, and it's even after office hours, if you want to get directly in contact with me, it'll be 561-762-7357. Once again, that's 561-762-7357.
Which number do I have?
You have the number, sir.
I just want to make sure.
You got the number that you call. That's the number you call at 2:00 and you get me.
It's just like, hey, just like my phone. Don't, you know, for years, you know, from what I do, my phone has never turned off.
You can't.
It's never turned off, and now that I'm no longer in any of those positions where your phone has to be turned on 24/7, it's nice to just put it on vibrate, you know, and just let it be.
I try my best to do that on Sundays.
Oh my
I
God!
don't touch my phone on Sunday. And then the irony of that is you get 1,000 messages on Sunday, and then when you call back on Monday,
Yeah.
never mind.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's the worst. But no, I really try to stick to my guns on that. I try my best to shut down on Sunday. Excuse me. Try my best to shut down on Sunday and actually get a rest day.
Yeah.
Right? A lot of people forget that day. You need to reset yourself. So you absolutely need to take care of yourself and get that reset day.
You know, it's nice that you just brought that up, that you have to reset yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because a couple of days ago I put a post on Instagram about, you know, when you do something for a long time, you may not see like damages immediately, you know, and you know,
It catches up.
you being the person that you are, you know, we all want to be tough and everything, and you know, it
catches up.
years later. You see that there was a little bit of damage caused, you know, whether it be personally, whether it be with your family, whether it be whatever, you know, you missed a lot of special times and events and stuff like that. But
Absolutely.
reset yourself. Give yourself the chance, the time to reset.
Yep.
To refocus on what this week brings.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
It keeps you healthy.
Absolutely.
Keeps you healthy.
Absolutely.
So let's you and I follow your social media. The biggest thing right now is what?
Right now we are in permitless carry season. Oh,
As of what? Like 6 days?
we actually went in on the 1st of July. Saturday passed. If you're not aware, guys, everybody got a gun. Everybody got a gun.
The wild west.
We are now the wild south.
Wild west.
Oh man.
Guys, and I know. Listen, before we go deep into that conversation, some of you might say, "Hey, listen, you talking about guns and everything, and you have a brewski, right?" We have no live ammunition on this table.
Zip.
We do have a couple of firearms to display.
Yep.
We've double checked them, triple checked them. My M4 has the bolt lock. The AK is pistol is forward, but there's nothing in the chamber. JP has a Glock, and then we have a nice training gun on the table. And just for display, just for you guys. If you're curious, drop us a line, and we'll tell you what we have.
Absolutely.
We'll go over it a little bit later, but
Yep.
okay, we're not shooting. We're speaking.
We're talking. Right now. Absolutely.
Okay, we're not manipulating the guns in any way, shape, or form. So I just want to say that. Okay.
Gotta make sure that's clear.
Yeah, like a little disclaimer, because you know people are gonna look at if you look at the video and be like, "Hi, guns and alcohol don't mix." You're right. If you're shooting, we're not shooting
at all.
We're chopping it up in a controlled
area
environment. Okay, and we're just having fun.
Absolutely.
We're seeing it. The most dangerous thing that I have here that we can hurt each other with is these microphones.
I tell you.
And I don't
they got
plan-
some weight to them too.
Yeah,
so
they
you got
do.
the good stuff.
And I don't plan on swinging it.
Oh man, you got the good stuff.
So-
You got some weight to it, so you know it's right.
So, you know, again, thank God, I'm really am blessed, you know, for again my man from Simpatico Real Estate that has blessed me with this.
Absolutely.
But let's talk about that permitless carry conceal law. What? Give me some input. Give me some opinions.
So, of course, we have a constitution that gives us several rights. And one of those rights is the right to bear arms.
Yep.
Okay? So our Second Amendment right gives us the right to, excuse me.
Second.
Yep, Second Amendment right. Look at me. You see how I had
That's
a
all
big
right.
moment? Second Amendment right gives us the right to bear arms, and of course, I am all the way with it. If I have the ability to protect myself, I want to absolutely be able to protect myself. Okay? With permitless carry, that's exactly what was pushed forward. You know, the ability to actually protect yourself using a firearm or a weapon of your choice, okay? When we turn around and we looked at those options, to turn around and say, okay, hey, I have opted to go ahead and get this to be able to protect myself, that's great. The thing that's scary for me is that when the conversation came into play, the conversation was, you can now have a firearm without getting training.
Right.
That's the problem that I ended up having, right? You're promoting something and telling someone, hey, you don't need to get training, bypass that and go get it. Now, opening the option to allow someone the ability to carry a firearm on their person without a license is great, but there was no need to reference the statement, do not need to get training.
Right.
Because what ended up happening is everybody goes, oh, I know how to use a gun. I don't need training.
Bam!
And then they shoot themselves, they shoot someone innocent next to them. They make all these mistakes that they weren't making prior to getting training. Now, naturally speaking, we know there's always going to be that person, no matter what the law came or didn't come, that's going to say, I've been around guns all my life. I don't need no training. But when you come on national television and you're the actual governor and turn around and you say, hey, we got you. Don't even worry about the training no more.
Go buy them.
Go buy them. Go get them. This is Florida. We are the Panhandle state. We are the gun shine state. Right?
Gun shine.
Right?
Hey, copyright that.
We are the gun shine state. So you got to make sure you understand that when you're looking at telling everyone that they could just get a firearm and not have to worry about anything, there's going to be a lot of problems. One of the bigger problems that's happening with the statement of permitless carry is they've identified that permitless carry now does three things. It gives you the ability to actually have a firearm on your person without a license. It gives you the ability to go ahead and retrieve a firearm from a store without presenting a license. But what they did when they were actually disclaiming everything is they stated that it actually stops the background checks. What everybody read that as is, now I could go get a gun and I don't have to get a background check, which means the 4473 that's run every time someone purchases a firearm, everybody assumes now that that no longer happens.
Real quick, explain what the 4473
The 4473 is an application that has to be completed each and every time you purchase a firearm. It is a federal mandate to complete said form and then have a background check done on yourselves to make sure that you have no criminal charges pending or you have no felonious pass, right?
And this is when you're buying it at a gun store.
When you're buying at a gun store, absolutely.
Because remember, in Florida, there's that loophole
Private sector purchases.
Right, where I can buy a gun from JP without anything.
Absolutely. You could absolutely buy a personal firearm from any other individual as long as while doing so you have every conscious thought that that person's not a felon, right? So if I were to turn around and be selling a firearm and I'm a felon and Lou didn't know that I was a felon, he purchased a firearm, But let's say that Lou knew that I was an actual convicted felon and I was selling a firearm and I made that purchase, that is a felony. You cannot do such a thing. So you want to be very mindful of all things. And this is where we go right back to talking about training, right? You have to know these things in order to actually get forward or move forward in what you're doing. And that lack thereof training will actually put you in a lot of trouble.
Guys, let me say something real quick. I am very pro Second Amendment, very pro. You know, the only issue that I have with what the governor signed and is allowing is there should have been some mandated training, in my opinion.
Right.
That's my opinion and my opinion only, but there's others that feel the same way, especially as instructors. You can't just say, "Here, go buy a gun." You can buy a gun. You can. I'm sorry. You not only can you buy it, but you carry concealed. Right? In my opinion, I think the governor should have said, "Hey, you must have a minimum of just 5 hours of some kind of basic firearms safety course."
I don't see no problem with that at all. I don't see no problem with actually just saying, hey, listen, keeping it how it was. You know, realistically, if you want to turn around and bypass the license, that's fine. but you should have some type of something that shows that the person was trained, which in this case would have been that concealed weapons permit, right? And when you have that concealed weapons permit, you must present an actual document showing that you were trained by a certified instructor. Now, don't get me wrong, we all know that there's a bunch of instructors out there
Sure.
that are failing to do their jobs properly. They're signing off on documents and the persons aren't properly trained, right? But we have something that's called vicarious liability for that. If something were to actually happen with that individual, you signed off on that certificate saying that they were properly trained, now it falls on your lap, anything that that person
Right.
actually goes into. So it's good to make sure that you're properly training the individuals. The thing that I love to watch Lou's classes, you know, when Lou's sitting in the class and I'm watching Lou do deep training. And I'm jealous because Lou's giving off some training that I need to be in that class taking some of that training too, right? But you're getting the proper training that you need. You're getting everything that's necessary for the actual class versus just assuming that you're coming in. And I remember, I feel like it was last week that Lou was saying, I'm not that paper pushing instructor, right? I'm that instructor that's going to actually work with you and talk to you. We're going to handle weapons long before we even make it to the range. You're going to make sure that you have proper grip, proper fundamentals, proper understanding of what sight alignment, sight picture is. Not when we get to the range, you fire off a round and
that's it. Yeah, you know, and I appreciate what you just said, but because of what I do for a living, I consciously I don't feel I remember me, my opinion, I don't feel right giving you a certificate that says you're now allowed to carry a gun concealed without showing you, you know, that there are malfunctions, that you reload the gun in this manner, you know, that you index when you grab the gun, right? That you don't point, you know, what we consider normal stuff. A lot of people have never been taught.
Have no clue. You know? Have no clue. And I had a student last week that actually came to the class that was certified last year by another K instructor, and the K instructor that certified him signed off that the person knew everything that they were doing. And this year they came into the renewal, and the second they touched the firearm, I had to stop him, right? I had to stop him because the person wasn't handling the firearm properly. So we want to make sure that we're taking our time to properly educate that person. Not only that, but you got to realize, especially in what you're doing full time, if a situation happens and you have nobody, you have civilians. And you would hope that the civilians that are around you know what they're doing, right? To think about in your position to be out and about and you have a civilian that comes up to help and they're pointing it in the wrong direction.
Yeah. And you know, and to give a little bit of credit to a lot of civilians, we've seen it where they have saved, you know.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
and those would be those civilians that are properly trained.
Because they took the time, right? They took the time to get some type of training, you know, and they were luckily there at the right time.
Absolutely.
And were able to help a law enforcement officer or first responder, because, you know, we're all human.
Absolutely.
But you guys, if anything, you have to please take the time to get that training. You know, it's 5 hours. You know, my class is 4.5 hours of your life. That you come in my class stress free. Mm-hmm. There's no tests, nope. And none of us give any tests. It's all hands on.
For me, your test is physical and verbal.
Yeah,
right, so if you're communicating properly to me and you're physically handling the weapons properly, I am visually watching you take a test throughout the entire course, so it's no handwritten. That's what everybody's terrified of. The moment you put a test in front of an individual, it's like, despite them knowing all the answers, that heart drops, right? So the test of a concealed weapons or a basic pistol class is more so verbal and physical, making sure you're properly doing everything.
I think it was more of the stress was hard trying to take the C license test back in. I don't know if do they still do the C license test?
Yes, they do.
You know, to become a private investigator, you have to take a test.
You have to take a test.
And you know, I took mine so many years ago. Do they still have the little booklet that they give you?
So I was fortunate enough to take a class where that little booklet that you're claiming was a little booklet.
Oh, really?
Thick book,
oh my God!
That we had a week to actually go ahead and read through and complete. We had a pre-exam, fortunately for me, and then we actually had a full exam that was administered by a proctor that sits over you and watches you take this test, right? So to think about that test, and then you turn around and you have, Here we are giving you a basic pistol class, and we're telling you, there's no tests. We got you. You sit here, as long as you're performing what you need to perform, ask the questions that you need to ask, we're good to go.
But to, to be a private investigator and be able to do surveillance and follow people, maybe take pictures of people, maybe for bigger cases, it was a stressful
That's a
test.
different thing. Yeah, that's a different beast in itself. Naturally.
It's like barbers.
Mm-hmm.
Barbers take a very difficult test.
Absolutely.
And now people can carry a gun without.
We just had this conversation.
Test.
I like that you just did that, right? So to be a mechanic.
And I'm not taking anything away from barbers.
Oh, we're not taking anything away from anyone.
We're just talking about training.
When we look at a mechanic, they get ASC certified.
Yes.
You look at a barber, they have to go through their cosmetology school. You look at an instructor, we have to go through rigorous class and rigorous training. But to be a civilian with a firearm, just go purchase a firearm.
Just to have a heartbeat.
We got to look at that. We got to look at that and determine, is that a safe practice? Now, like I said, I'm all for it. I'm pro 2A all the way, right? I am all for us having firearms. I just really think that we really need to think. And as people, regardless of what the law states, you guys should be reaching out and trying to find training, right? Trying to find training from a certified instructor and properly using your weapons in the ranges, so on and so forth, but not turning around and just saying, hey, I'm going to walk in a store and buy 100 guns just to have 100 guns, because one day you're going to pull out one of them, and pulling out one of them, you're going to unfortunately misuse it, and we're going to have a problem. So just think about that.
100%. And I think, let me reach over and grab this training gun,
Mm-hmm.
right? Training gun, right? One of the biggest mistakes that I think that people make when they say, I've been shooting since I was a kid, is a lot of people forget that some of these guns, some of these manufacturers have made these guns that they can still shoot when you remove that magazine.
Yep.
All right? And notice where my index finger goes,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we've been doing it.
Off
That's
the trigger into ready to
right.
shoot.
It doesn't go in the trigger well.
It stays off.
But people forget that once you remove that magazine, there may be still a round in the chamber.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
And that gun is still gonna go bang. And that's how a lot of accidents happen.
It absolutely happens like that. One of the things that I love somebody said to me one day is, get your booger picker off the switch.
Yeah, that's an old
old man said it to me. He
sign.
said, get your booger picker off the switch, right? A lot of people don't get, if you pay attention, when you sneeze, your hand clenches.
Yep.
So picture you picking up a firearm, and then having said firearm in your hand, you go to the actual trigger, and you're holding it and talking, and you sneeze. You pull that trigger. When you pull that trigger, you're going to get banged. So make sure you understand the rules and you stick by them at all times, no matter what.
Sympathetic reaction.
Mm-hmm.
It happens. Tell me a little bit more about yourself right now, as far as what, besides teaching your classes, is it just your classes? Do you work anywhere else? Do you train? What else do you do?
I'm an open contractor.
I thought you were gonna say open.
No, I definitely love.
I'm an open contractor.
We absolutely are always working in the security field. So when I said private sector earlier, a lot of people wonder, James, what does that mean exactly? So you have your public sector, which is going to be your law enforcement, who's there working for the public. They're exposed. And then you have your private sector, where you guys have to write out a contract to actually work out with us and doing whatever we're doing. So your private sector security is what I'm referring to. So we do a lot of events. We just had an event this past weekend, great event. Everything went perfect. You
Nice.
wake up, no rain, beautiful sunny day all the way through the evening, not one issue. So great event. So we're constantly doing security events here. So outside of training, of course, I actually do events here and there. But every Sunday I like to sit by the pool and just relax and just shut down. Why do I shut down? Because we need that reset. We want to reset. So we're absolutely active throughout the week. So I think I more than enough earned that one day off. And just this past Sunday, I was walking with my kids somewhere. Somebody says, "Excuse me, you're supposed to be training." I said, "Bro, let me just get today off. Just one day. Just one day. That's all I'm asking for."
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. God, I was just gonna ask you something, and just man, I'm getting old because literally I had it here and it went there.
You don't see the news anchors when they're sitting down, you're talking about something. As soon as they think about something, they start writing it. Your pad's right there.
I know.
Man. Come on, man.
And all I have on that is your information. So tell me if someone wants to get a hold of JP Services of today, how to besides the phone number.
So many options, guys. So many options to get in contact with JP Services. So on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, it's JP Services with a S of today. So JP space SERVICES space OF space TODAY, JP Services of Today, on all of your social media platforms. If you're looking for the website, it's going to be jpservicesoftoday.com. So once you get on the website, you'll be able to see everything we have to offer for you. And then if you want to shoot us an email and ask any questions, guess what the email is?
JP Services of Today.
jpservicesoftoday@gmail.com. By all means, any way necessary to get in contact with us, we'll definitely reach back out to you. I'm more than responsive when it comes down to all of the communication forms. If I miss a call from you, as always, just shoot a voicemail. And of course, if you shoot me a text, then I'll get back to you even quicker.
Guys, and I tell you, JP is probably one of the most humble guys I've ever met in this specific field. But as a man in general, very humble. And he is very knowledgeable. We already know he's got his certifications. So you have another instructor, right? You don't always have to stick with the same instructor.
No.
Even in law enforcement, we don't go to the same instructor all the time, right? We go to different schools, different courses, different instructors that'll teach you different things.
Each instructor just always has a little bit different
100%
approach, right? So every time you talk to an instructor, this is why I say you're constantly learning on a daily basis, right? So you come to my class and I'm working with you and I'm doing this. And for me, everything that I'm showing you works out great. But maybe for you, it doesn't work. You turn around and you go to Lou and he instructs you and he throws something out and you're like, well, my last instructor had me doing this. Oh, wow, I noticed that you did that. Let me try this. So now you've gained another level of instruction, another option for you to actually put out on the field. So by all means, never visit one. I have an instructor that I'll be going to this Saturday.
Okay.
Did you hear what I just said? James, the instructor, has an instructor that he'll be going to on Saturday, which means instruction never ends, right? You're constantly learning, you're constantly getting credentials, right? I just told you all my credentials and I'm earning another one. So this weekend I'll be taking my RSO class, so range safety officer class, right? To lock in just another certificate, right? To stay valid. One of the things a lot of our great instructors are constantly saying to us that if you're not taking continued educational classes, then you shouldn't be an instructor.
I think it's like a diminishing scale. Like riding a bike. I always say riding a bike, not a bicycle, a motorcycle. It's diminishing skill.
Absolutely. If you don't do it, if you constantly do it, you'll lose it, right? So one of the things that I heard several instructors say growing up is if you're going to turn around and you shoot a firearm and you set that firearm down just for 1 year, when you come back, just know that you're a beginner again.
Yep.
Right? Because now you have to go through all of those fine motor skills that you thought you had locked in. You're starting over from scratch all over again. Absolutely.
Let's talk a little bit about SBRs.
Okay. Absolutely.
And the grips, right? You being being around guns 24/7 because you do work at a range, right?
So I do assist with a range. Absolutely.
Okay. So I'm sure you're constantly getting asked the question of what's going on with that forearm grip, right?
So there's a lot of different things that are happening. Of course, I believe it was May 31st. I believe it was a deadline of May 31st, something and such. We had a deadline that we had to make sure that we are our firearms registered, so on and so forth. Unfortunately, the United States citizens decided only 1% of us would respond. Right, so what do you do now, right? So ATF turns around, they tell you, hey, listen, if you have an SBR, short barrel rifle, that you must respond, you must turn around and submit, right? So many of us submitted.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but
We have an example.
we have, you can demo with the,
What is an
with the
SBR?
AK.
Right?
Uh,
An SBR is considered anything. Did you notice all that I just did? All the way around the world. Why? I don't want to point anywhere that's unsafe, so we want to make sure we're properly handling the actual weapon. So an SBR is anything that has a barrel that is shorter than 16 inches. Okay? The barrel, if the barrel is shorter than 16 inches, then it's considered a short barrel rifle.
Yep.
Okay? On this short barrel rifle, we actually have a pistol grip handle. Okay? So for this here, it's considered a short barrel rifle, and we want to turn around and make sure that it is properly registered. All right? And properly registering, what the ATF requested that we did is we turned around and we submitted photos of it. We had to submit our fingerprints. We had to submit a picture of ourselves.
Yes.
We had to submit the actual firearm in itself, showing what it looked like.
I still haven't gotten a response, but I'm
Oh,
sorry.
of course not. You know how many they have to go through? You're talking about the same ATF that has to actually turn around and say, hey, it took us 9 months just to get this approval.
Say
Right
you
here.
can have you can buy it, but it's got to stay in the store
Until you get approved.
I'm sorry, go ahead,
9-month process. So now they're turning around and they're saying, hey, if you want an SBR, you can have it, but you're going to need to register it. So then we register, you give us a deadline to register, and it's going to take you forever.
It took me almost 10 months. 10 months to get my silencer.
And that's a silencer that's actually
Suppressor.
already registered, and all you gotta do is link a name to it, so on and so forth. This is all of us coming to you and saying, hey, my serial number is ABC123. Hey, this is a picture of it. Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and submit it through this right here and hope that you respond back to me.
Yes.
Do you know how many millions of people are in the United States of America?
You
I
know,
believe it's 400.
there
million
was
people.
there were 3 options that were given if you did not want to go through all that stuff, right?
3 options.
So
Option 1, follow their rule, register it. Option 2, disconnect your brace. So, when we're referring to that brace, we're referring to this guy here. Remove it and discard it. Option 3, get rid of the firearm.
give it back to ATF. Yeah.
Do what?
Now this is an SBR. It wasn't manufactured. It's not the. It doesn't. God, I just forgot the buffer. Right. It doesn't come with just a buffer tube. This is It's actually a registered SBR, and this is the way that I purchased it. Okay.
Right. A lot of people purchase their firearms like this, and a lot of people actually assumed because they purchased their firearms in such a manner that they really didn't have anything to do. But at the end of the day, what you're carrying right now is what, a 7.5 inch barrel?
It's 8.5.
8.5 inch barrel, right? So you are under the 16.
Yep.
And if you're under the 16, it must be registered. Of course, this right here in itself is a whole different category, but if you know Lou, you know Lou. This is right here. It's definitely set to go. It's registered with no issue. But at the end of the day, for many of us that went into stores and just purchased something, so many of us that went into different websites that actually decided to purchase and build something, those are those people that had to actually turn around and register said firearm to the ATF and make sure that it was properly registered. This is a beauty, and it got some perfect weight to it. I'm glad I was able to handle it just now. One day, I'm going to be outdoor with Lou, and we're going to be out there showing off.
and you know what? Talking about the suppressor, this happened by pure accident. Is when I purchased this suppressor, which is made the Dead Air. I think Dead Air. And I'm giving Dead Air some credit because I do like the suppressor. But when I purchased it for my Zastava, right, the pistol 7.62.
Mm-hmm.
When I went to go put the suppressor on, finally, right, there's something called concentricity, okay? And I think you were around when that happened, right? Concentricity is when I attach my suppressor to the threading on my AK, I need to make sure that when that round shoots through the end of the muzzle of the AK, it doesn't hit the size
Yep.
of this baffle, this suppressor,
Yep.
right? And so with my luck, after waiting 9-10 months, I'm all excited. I'm ready to shoot this damn thing, and there's a rod that you put to make sure that it's centered. It wasn't. So me being the OCD person, that type of person that I am, without doing my research and looking for local armors
Right.
that actually dealt with these type of issues.
Right.
I went all the way to almost Homestead. I drove 2 hours and change to go drop off my gun. I had to leave it there. And the guys did a great job. I just forgot their name. I would have shouted them out. But they had to rethread.
Wow.
They had to rethread the gun. I'm sorry, the threads on the muzzle,
Yep.
right, on the barrel. So now I years ago that gun was a gift. It was gifted to me, one of my closest friends from New York.
Right.
I think back then that gun was, I don't know, $500-600, somewhere in that area. So I just paid another. what you said?
That was the sweet life back then.
Yes.
500-600.
What are they going for now?
On average, you're looking at about $900 to $1,100.
Wow, really?
Exact gun.
Holy cow! And we got this now.
Right.
So it's probably worth a little bit more right now because I put in that much money because of the rethreading, right? The suppressor, the $200 tax stamp, and whatever. And I had to do something else to it, but it was a process.
Right.
So if you don't have the paperwork to be able to put this on there on an SPR, what are some of the repercussions if you get caught? Because you're out there.
I was actually just asked that question, believe it or not. Somebody asked me if I have a pistol and I get it, a threaded pistol, and I get a silencer, can I move about with it? Okay. So understand, there's no way that you're going to take a pistol. So average pistol with a threaded barrel is going to be somewhere in the mid-size to full-size pistol with a threaded barrel, and then you turn around and you attach a suppressor on it. You're not concealing this. Unless you're wearing a jacket all day. We're in South Florida.
I know.
You are not concealing this all day long. So these are the little things that you got to think about, right? So just for comfortability, it's not happening, right? Now, the question that you're asking is, what happens if I'm actually caught with this?
No.
Well, have your paperwork? No problem. Don't have your paperwork? Federal offense.
I believe it says you could be looking up to 10 years if you get caught in one of these, because it's concealable. You can do a lot of damage with it because
Absolutely.
no one can hear where the shot came from.
Correct.
No, for the most part.
It's reduced very well, but I mean,
Yes.
you get a small sound, but it's very well reduced. I mean, when we're inside of the range, you can actually take your headsets off and shoot from your suppressor and still be fine. That's how quiet it is. But of course, sound does still travel. You're still going to get a little sound, just like if something falls in front of you, you're still going to hear cling, 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 right? But on a suppressor, you do reduce sound. So because of that, it actually becomes a very big problem because now you can't triangulate where exactly that sound came from.
Yeah, it's a lot harder. So if you're gonna go and do certain modifications to your gun, do it correctly. Go to the gun store.
Sure.
Do what they're telling you to do.
For sure.
Because otherwise you could find yourself at the courthouse looking at some legal actions.
I sat for the longest, even when they were talking about the actual pistol brace concept and how you had the deadline of the 31st, and I posted and posted and posted, and
Yes.
the irony of that was on June 1st I got calls.
Yeah.
Hey, what do I do now? It's like, no. Don't ask me now what do you do. Now you wait and see what happens, right? Because that's all I can give you. I don't know what's to come, right? So they, of course, said what they were going to do and all the possibilities, but I don't work for the ATF. I don't know what exactly the ATF looks to do going forward. ATF has been on some wild scavenger hunts, so I'm not playing that game. I'm making sure as much as possible. One dear friend of mine said to me, hey, listen, James, you are a firearm instructor, you are a FFL, you are a full school. Your name is in the system regardless. So what difference does it make now for you to turn around and register
I
your
agree with
pistol
you.
brace?
There's, I get it. A lot of people, conspiracy theories and all kind of stuff. If they want to know where you're at, they're gonna find
know
you.
regardless.
You
This
know?
is the technology world that we live in nowadays, and if they want to really find out where you're at, we were worried about chips. I don't know if you remember
Yes.
growing up and being concerned that they're going to input a chip to us. Meanwhile, we walk around with our iPhones and our iWatches and our Samsungs and all
Yes.
that good stuff all day long. So they don't need to put a chip on you. They have a chip with you all day long.
And when you have your phone and you're speaking to someone,
Ugh.
and all of a sudden
You go on Google and you find that product right there in front of
what
you.
you're speaking on it.
Come
yeah.
on. Come on. You should already know this by now.
It's crazy, but again, guys, we're talking. Really, the main topic is you getting properly trained.
Proper training is just very important. Like I said, to just turn around, just to make it real simple, if a person that does hair has to go to cosmetology school, if a person that works on a vehicle has to go through a mechanic school and do ASC certifications, if an instructor has to turn around and actually get all these NRA, USCCA instructional tickets, right? FDLE training, all these different things. Why do you think that the civilian is safe not getting training at all and just owning firearms? Yeah. It's not a good idea. I don't know what's to come with it, but I really suggest that you need to turn around and absolutely be able to have your right certifications and everything that you're doing.
Be safe, guys. Watch where you point those guns. Again, you're gonna be carrying them concealed, and not to overkill on the topic, and bore you, but you have no idea how many people we actually see going into these trauma units for accidental discharges, and that's because when you grab the gun, you automatically put your finger in the trigger, and I come behind JP and slapped on, hey, what's up? And you have a sympathetic reaction, right? Which is what he was talking about before, when you sneeze, right? You kind of clinch up. And so you see a lot of accidents.
Absolutely.
And with those accidents come accidental discharges.
Yep.
Okay, and people die. People get hurt.
Yep.
Serious bodily injury. So today we just wanted to hit on that. Wanted to talk about, again, firearm safety, vetting your instructor. Make sure you have a great instructor. Mm-hmm. Okay. We wanted to touch up on the forearm grip a little bit. If you have it, I know, and listen, I've seen a lot of YouTube videos, with people from all walks of life. Some people just refuse, some people would just refuse, I'm being watched, whatever, and I'm not doing this,
To each is your own. Realistically, nobody's going to apply anything to you that you don't want to do yourself, right? So the thing that we're simply saying is, hey, get trained, get certified, right? We want to make sure that you're certified. At the end of the day, there's so many different things that are happening. One of the things that I like to say, and I think I said this to you when this was actually coming out, that remember, guys, just as much as we're learning about this permitless carry and what's coming, law enforcement is learning it too, right? This is a new thing that's coming, it's rolling out. So we're all learning, unfortunately, at the same time, right? So you want to be very mindful of what exactly is happening and how it's happening, right? So each one teach one. And I always say to everybody, I, the instructor, can be trained by my child, right? I, the instructor, can train law enforcement. I, the instructor, can hear and learn from law enforcement equally, right? But you have to be able to know what's right to be able to properly train. All right, question. Let me give a quick shout out real quick. I got a lot of good followers right now on Instagram asking several questions. So I appreciate you following in the videos, guys. The question that was just asked of me was, hey, I'm actually a Canadian. I'm coming into the United States soon. I'm coming to actually get my citizenship here in the United States. Would I be able to get my concealed weapons license? Now, for here in Florida, we are absolutely still certifying each of our students. So absolutely, you will be able to get a concealed weapons permit through the Florida Department of Agriculture. Absolutely, that is a go, good go. I don't see any state that has a problem with you getting certified. Texas is the state that we all know is the shooting gun state, but at the end of the day, Texas will still say, hey, listen, let's get training. Let's make sure you're properly trained, so on and so forth. And that's why I had the problem with just the way our governor just laid it out and said, hey, listen, you no longer need to get training. That's the only problem that I had. Everyone will be carrying a gun in Florida with the new law. No more, now more than ever. We need the proper, so this is, everyone will be carrying a gun in Florida with the new law now more than ever. We need proper training. No, absolutely. We 100% need proper training. We want to make sure that everybody's getting trained the proper way. And that's why me and Lou are constantly driving that conversation about getting that proper training. And like I said before, despite what the actual governor, the president, or anything else says, if you're looking to safely do something, the way to do that is to get proper training in whatever it is, right? So I love doing sideline. I work on my own car, right? I love working on my own vehicle. I prefer to pay myself than turn around and pay the mechanic, right? But there's certain things that I just can't do on the car. And when I get to those points, I take my car to a certified mechanic, right? Unfortunately, you're not walking around with a bodyguard, so when you get to a point in using your firearm where you get a squid load, what do you do? Exactly, right? You know, what do you do?
Come to one of the classes.
So it's important to come through and actually get that proper training and understand what exactly these different things are so that we are fully aware of what can happen. The possibilities are endless when it comes down to actually using a firearm. So don't just assume that you're going to turn around and get a firearm and everything's going to be great, because malfunctions absolutely happen.
And that's what you guys need to know. These are all basic shooting fundamentals. Malfunctions, proper stance, proper grip, your breathing, trigger control, gripping your gun. There's so many other topics that we can talk about.
You hit it on the head when you
come to one of our classes. Absolutely. And you will get trained. One thing that I'd like to say before we kind of end, guys, listen. Now that there are so many people carrying conceal, communicate, you said communication several times, is very important as a law enforcement officer when you have any type of contact with a law enforcement officer. Don't let it get to a point where you cannot diffuse a situation, right? I teach that class, believe it or not, at work, de-escalation diffusion techniques. But what I'm saying is, if you get stopped by law enforcement, yes, they don't have to pat you down but you can politely say, hey, officer, just so you know, I have a gun concealed. A lot of people will disagree with what I'm saying, and that's okay. But that officer is going to be on point. And now you're carrying concealed. Things can go sideways real quick if I ask you for anything, and you go to give it to me, and then I see you reach, right? We are trained now to know that everybody can carry concealed, but how you act and how you manipulate that item or that gun, bad things can happen that shouldn't happen if you communicate. That's all I'm saying is let the officer know. Right.
One of the things that I highly suggest everyone invest in, especially if you're going to be carrying, is an actual neck chain, right? So this neck chain, I won't flash the other side, but this neck chain sits around your neck. So let's say you actually make contact with a law enforcement officer. Average law enforcement officer doesn't see people drawing their firearm from their chest, right? So if you're literally using your thumb to pull out your chain and then it has your identification, you've identified yourself, right? So with permitless carry, what a lot of people don't understand is that permitless carry has just opened up the ability for an officer to approach you and see a bulge on your side and assume that it's a firearm, right? And assuming that it's an actual firearm, the officer is going to turn around and have the ability to immediately request your ID. So prior to July 1st, when an officer approaches us and asks us for an ID, we immediately want to ask why. What do you need our ID for? But going forward, if you are seen with something that resembles a firearm and you now have a firearm, everybody's going to be comfortable now saying, of course I got a gun. It's July 1st, right? So of course I got a gun. But to be able to turn around and say, yes, I do have a gun, but I also have a concealed weapons permit, this is where everything starts to just clear up, because now that officer knows that you are properly trained, you know what you're doing. So I personally, whenever I'm stopped by a law enforcement officer, and this is just talking about in a vehicle, before an officer reaches the vehicle, I already have my license, registration, and my concealed weapons permit in my hand. Right? So I'm already presenting everything to the officer. And it goes all different ways. Each officer is different, right? So your senior officer approaches and the senior officer says, okay, great, you have a concealed weapons permit, you go ahead and put this away, and they do what they gotta do and they let you go, right? Then you'll have some officers that you'll present that concealed weapons permit to and they'll pull you out of the vehicle. Right? Officer safety is just as important as your own safety, right? Each person wants to get home to where they started before they started their day, right? So at the end of the day, if the officer pulls you out of the vehicle, it's, just for their safety to go ahead and get you in a safe position. They'll disarm you, will check everything and make sure everything is clear. And then once everything is completed, usually the officer will get you on your way and everything will be fine. But just understand, like I said before, every one of us is now getting used to this new law.
Correct.
Today is the 6th of July. This only passed 5 days ago, right? So all of us are learning this new law. So you want to be very mindful of that when you're interacting with officers. And the scary thing is that there's going to be a lot of people that just don't know this law. And there's going to be a lot of people that know the law and shouldn't be in possession of a firearm. There's so much that's going to happen. So right now, I don't know where you stand and everything, but I just say everybody needs to go ahead and, definitely get into prayer and make sure that everything happens properly. Make sure that everybody's comfortable and we're going through what we need to go through in the right means. And just properly communicate whatever you have going on so that everyone can be safe.
100%. That's it. Be safe. Okay? Again, get your training and communicate. Communicate with, especially, again, if you're dealing with law enforcement. We're not going to go talk about legalities as to how or why the officer can pull you out of a vehicle. Right? That's not what we're here. What we're talking about. It's all about firearm safety and preventing an event from escalating to where someone could get hurt or killed because you weren't properly trained.
Correct.
So, guys, thank you so much. JP, thank you so much for coming on the show. This will be out probably beginning of next week.
Okay.
But thank you again. Thank you. If you're watching the show, please like and subscribe, support. Nothing more I like to do than support local business, local colleagues, friends that are in the same business. Again, I'm not competing against JP. I compete with him.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely.
Because the same way I may have a job and I can't do it, I pass it on to JP, or he does vice versa, and we do the same thing with other people in the same field. It doesn't have to be a cutthroat field,
Not at all.
and it is, unfortunately.
Unfortunately.
There's plenty of food on this table for everybody to eat.
Yep.
And with that said,
I got one question before we turn off. What's next?
What's next? What's next? What's next? Only the big man upstairs knows. All I know is what's next for us is rest and relaxation.
All right,
everybody
guys.
be safe. Thank you for watching. Again, what's next on YouTube? Check it out. And remember, Palm Beach Personal Protection Group, 561-308-9653. Or you can go to my website at protectingpalmbeach.com and you can see pretty much everything that I do when I'm not at work. All right, so everybody have a great afternoon.
Absolutely. Have a good one. Thank you very much for checking in.
Base.